Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. So the third quarter results have got you down. Don't worry, there's a lot of positive that was brought forth in that meeting, especially with it has to do with Giga-Texas. So I think we're going to talk about that briefly and put things into perspective. First off, as everybody should know by now, the Cybertruck is going to have its delivery event here at Giga-Texas on the 30th of November. So we got about 5.5 weeks to go. The official invite did come out, and it looks like what you see in the upper right. In addition to that, we did get some information about what to expect. The Cybertruck production is on track for the deliveries, as we just mentioned. Model Y production rate is going to be growing very gradually following all of the big updates that we saw. 4680 processing is increasing, and as we've been discussing, the capabilities here are growing tremendously. And of course, the battery cathode plant is getting ready to come online in 2024. In addition to that, the ramp probably by the end of the year will be about 125,000 annually for the Cybertrucks. So those are all pretty good signs. Now, speaking of 2024, a lot to look forward to here at Giga-Texas. The multi-level garage and the associated increase in employees, the south building expansion, stamping 2 and 3 working general assembly lines, the massive end-of-line facility and outbound lot on the west side, the Megapack and the new switchyard becoming fully operational, the battery cathode complex of structures becoming operational, the Gigapress section expansion with more presses and more capability, Cybertrucks, Model Ys, and who knows, maybe something new, East expansion and Cyber Cafe, and also the 4680 production cell expansion section of the building. In addition to all of those great things in 2024, I want to talk briefly about how Tesla is investing in the community, and there's this recent article here. The sources will be in the bottom of the screen and in the video description. And this has to do with the area on the west side as indicated by the upper right-hand corner photo. And the article has got a lot of great information. I would take a look at that link. But basically, this pilot project is about 120 acres, and it'll be used to help reclaim and enhance the areas around the Colorado River, and it will be used for future expansion as well. Now, as I mentioned, it's on the west side. This inset map with the arrows gives you a good idea of where this is exactly located. Now, there is a slide deck that Tesla presented to the Travis County Commissioners. It's available at the link in the video description if you'd like to have more information. We'll go over a few of the highlights here. In this rendering, we see River Road in the middle of the screen, Giga-Texas in the upper left. We see the Colorado River on the right-hand side and that area where it's had that ecological uplift or reclamation work that has been completed. On the left-hand side of the screen, you would normally see the West Support Facility, but it's not indicated in this rendering. Tesla expects to spend over $10 billion when Giga-Texas is complete. They currently have over 12,000 employees, and they've put $97 million into historically underutilized businesses in the area. In 2023, Tesla has dedicated over $750,000 to these community partners, and they plan to do so in the future as well. Also, Tesla has been supporting several educational and workforce development programs such as the Manufacturing Development Program, Pathways to Technology, and the Start Manufacturing Program. They've also supported Earth Day, and we've actually seen quite a few of the trees being relocated and planted around the area through many of my videos. There is also a related video, and you can see the link here. It will be in the video description, and I would recommend you take a look at that as well. I'd like to return back to this ecological uplift project on the southwest side and talk a little bit about floodplain and how this is related. Over 3.5 years ago, I provided this video on the 14th of August where we talked about the floodplain and some of the planning that was going ahead to ensure that Giga-Texas did not have that issue. I'd recommend you take a look at my 14 August 2020 video for details. We're just going to go over a few highlights. First of all, the red area is Giga-Texas, the Colorado River, and the arrow shows the location of this ecological uplift project. Flood surveys at the time show where Giga-Texas was most potentially impacted by flood waters. And you can see a good view of this with the image here. And the arrow shows again that location for that ecological uplift. This is a slightly different map from the USGS, and it shows the blue areas where the highest probability of flooding would occur, and then the brown areas where additional measures need to be done to avoid 500-year floods. The arrow again shows where that ecological uplift project is underway. Here's one more slide with some of the legend kind of explaining further what the blue and the brown areas are. I'd recommend you stop the video so you can take a look at this in more detail. The most important thing to understand is that several areas of Giga-Texas had flood concerns, and a lot of work increasing the grade elevation throughout the entire site was needed to ensure that Giga-Texas will not flood. This is particularly true over on the west side, where that uplift program is underway. Here's a relatively recent image of the entire west side where the grade work has been critical to ensure that they don't have any flood risk. The overall grade elevation has been raised many meters in altitude. I like this particular image. If you can take a look at the grade change where the trailers are, you can get a really good sense of how high this has been raised. And this is, as I mentioned, a critical part of this 3+ year water management program that Tesla has undertaken for the construction of Giga-Texas. So there you have it, some brief discussion and some thoughts about what we heard at the third quarter financial results meeting, also what we have at store for 2024 at Giga-Texas and why it's exciting, and also some more context and discussion about that ecological uplift project that has been recently in the news. And I hope that the review, the floodplain analysis, and the discussion was helpful. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed what we discussed. So let's get into the drone. Let's fly around the site and see how Giga-Texas looks today. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. As you can see today, we're starting off on the east side and getting a little bit different perspective, especially with the sun. But let's start off taking a look at some of the work that's going on the east side of the battery cathode plant. Specifically, all of this excavation work that is continuing to be underway. And you can see some of those large dump trucks bringing dirt in to help fill this area in and raise the grade up. Now it looks like there's a central depression, you can see with some of the water, but around it on both sides has had the grade raised considerably. So possibly we're going to be seeing some sort of construction on this side. You can also see some bulldozers in and amongst the trees on the left and more of the clearing that's happening on the right-hand side of the screen. But I'm not sure. I haven't seen any permits for what may be constructed here, but it's definitely an interesting development to be watching. And in amongst the dirt here and some of the equipment, we see this road with the two dump trucks. They're bringing dirt from the far northeast. There's more excavation work going on up there. And on my next video, I'll try to fly up and give you a good view of what is going on. But here on the north part of the cathode plant, we can see the lift station that is being constructed at the middle of the screen, and there's a good view here. Also, it looks like there's some equipment now being installed in that rectangular concrete vault. As I continue to fly on this west side, you can see the excavation work, or at least the groundwork here in the middle. All of the water has been dried up now, which is excellent, and there's some developments that are going on here next to the chiller plant and down the alleyway that I will show you. First of all, it looks like work is just getting ready to start. You can see some of the workers in those yellow vests. One of the Evapco fans is actually spinning. I don't know if that's for a test or if it's just because of some wind, but I think it's a test. This is a good view of that underground conduit that connects the two structures and the road that goes over that middle section, and they will be finishing up the connections soon. More of the concrete has been poured on the right-hand side of the screen, continuing to put concrete aprons along the die shop. And then we can see more of the excavation work here in the middle for that steel corrugated pipe, which is part of the water management system. As I turn the drone up and we fly over the die shop, I'll show you more of that excavation work that's going on that's related to those steel corrugated pipes, and now it's going across the south face of the die shop as well. Another thing that I did notice, and I'll try to give you a good view here as we fly along the old part of Tesla Road where the trees and the two divided roads are. Here is how the intersection is looking today. More of the excavation work is going on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm not sure. It looks like they're going to be preparing this for a 4-lane road here with that intersection widened completely across where the dirt is, but we'll see how that continues to develop over time. As we fly up towards the electrical switchyard, there's a couple of developments that I do want to show. First of all, we can see an excavator here with a pile of dirt amongst some of this machinery, equipment, and also that container. And it looks like there's some maybe pipes next to that container as well. The temporary electrical switchyard continues to look like it's been de-energized. We've seen one of the 2 transformers removed, and the rest of it just does not look like it's in operation now at all. But there is some good news at the new electrical switchyard on the south end, just next to these 2 trailers. And what we'll see here is crews are actively completing the connections. As you can tell with the blue man lift and the wires that have now been connected to those kind of red bars, this is one of the last necessary steps before the second of the 2 large transformers here can be brought online and begin powering Giga-Texas. And as I kind of pull away and zoom away, you can see that that second transformer is very close to having the disconnects connected, and then we'll see this site fully operational as far as providing power to Giga-Texas. Now on the north end, next to this large steel pole, we can see more of that scaffolding. This is what the crews have been using to connect some of the wires. You can see 3 of those very large diameter black wires coming up vertically through the platform. And those eventually will be connected to the grid, and that goes down under the ground through the conduit over to the north end of the Megapack site. So a lot of development here, and it looks like it's very close to being completed, at least on this side of the electrical switchyard and for the grid lines and the power lines that you see coming through those 3 tall poles. Now as we fly back over the electrical switchyard towards the Megapack site, a few things that I want to point out. The covered structure on the north end with that white plastic, I've had some viewers say that they think that that's done to prevent contamination, dirt, and moisture onto the connections as they are being made. And this is where the conduit comes under the ground up into this section and has those ends of those large black wires that we saw on the platform at that pole. So it does look like they are trying to keep that very clean to ensure that the contacts are done properly. As we fly over the steel structure and the Megapacks, we can see how the entire site there is looking closer and closer to being completed. Hopefully, again, by the end of this month, we'll see the Megapack and the electrical switchyard fully operational and tested and certified. As we fly over Tesla Road towards the north part of the building, a few things that I do want to show you. This section of the building, this northwest corner, is where they are continuing to do construction on the inside. You can see where some of the windows have been removed. Inside the rectangular opening with the window removed, you can see some of the steel where they've added a mezzanine or a second floor. All of this is where they're building out additional 4680 production capability. And as we heard in the third quarter results meeting, Drew mentioned that they're going to have up to about 5 or 6 lines for the 4680s once it's completed. And it should be completed and in commission by the end of 2024, per what we heard at the third quarter meeting. On the northeast side, we continue to see activity with some deliveries of those Mino crates next to the casting machine, the racks. We also see some more of these 5 fan units. The white stairs that were here have been moved inside, so those are being assembled. On the left-hand side where the plastic is on the berm, all along that area is where the wires are being connected to the building up to the electrical switchyard. And then as I bring the drone up, this is a good overall view of the east side right now. And then of course inside is where the Elite Refractory Services are completing the furnace installation. And related to that are these ducted fans and the rectangular enclosures that continue to be installed by cutting away the weatherproof membrane and the insulation and then cutting a rectangle through the roof decking to allow those ventilation bases to be installed. Here on the east side, again, I'm going to take advantage of the lighting and also zoom in so you get a good view of the work that is going on. A little bit of view inside those open doors as well. Some of the large pipes, those rectangular silver items in the middle are the melted down scrap aluminum, and they will be reused at some point for the castings. And speaking of which, with the lighting here and the zoom in, we get a good view of some castings. These appear to be Cybertruck castings, and I think I can see actually some front castings on the right-hand side and rear castings on the left-hand side. And those rear castings would be similar to what we see on the ground here. The fact that I think that we see a few of the front castings is a great indication that maybe they've resolved the issues that they've been having with the front castings, and based on the 30 November delivery date, maybe we're going to start seeing them being used to make more Cybertrucks. This area is where the wirings are being completed that go up to the switchyard to provide the power to Giga-Texas. You can see the plastic on the windows where that stain is being applied to the walls. Also, that concrete removed section is almost ready for concrete to be added in front of those receiving doors. As I pull away, I want to give you a good sense of how the outbound lot looks today. There's a fair number of Model Ys, but not as many as that I would like to see if we're going to get back close to that 5,000 per week mark that we had earlier in the spring. But they continue to do the ramp, and as we heard in the third quarter meeting, they're going to have a relatively flat to slow ramp up of the Model Ys following all of the upgrades that they had. In addition to the Model Ys, there are two Cybertrucks here in this lot. One of them looks relatively clean. The other one looks like it's been driven. And here's a good close-in view of how these look in the outbound lot today. And when I saw these, I thought maybe this would be all I would see at the site today. But as we'll see a little later in the video, we'll get a chance to fly around and follow some Cybertrucks driving on the east and the south sides. But this is a good view of these two in the outbound lot now. And let me know in the comments, when do you think we're going to see a lot more, like we're talking dozens of Cybertrucks in the outbound lot? Leave your thoughts in the comment section of the video, and I'd appreciate that information. We'll see how close some people's guesses are. But let's reposition the drone and let's fly around, take a look at some of the construction that's going on the east side. Looks like there's a road over the underground concrete manifold systems here, and also this road continues with the two kind of bridges over the kind of depressions where the riprap is for some of the water management. And speaking of which, we are starting to get an idea of how the steel corrugated pipe is going to be installed around this section. It's very possible that the depressions that we see on the left and in the center are just going to be filled in with these steel corrugated pipes and then run the water through them under the ground. And I think that would make a lot of sense. But this is a good view of how this is starting to shape up on this corner. A lot more of that steel corrugated pipe is arranged, waiting for the installation. We see some excavation work going on near this particular corner. And also just a good overall view of how the site continues to transform. Large pile of gravel that's used for the geopiers. Speaking of which, we can see them working in the middle section here. All of those white flags in those kind of square shapes is where they will be drilling geopiers. And you can actually see some that have been completed on the bottom of the screen, those large dots in a square pattern. And they're going to continue that across the entire width of the site. On the left-hand side, we see more of the steel rebar cages for the footings, those square items on the left. A lot more rebar is standing by for the footings to be installed. And then here we see the result of the excavation, the rebar, and the concrete that has been poured, additional formwork as well. And it looks like there's some plumbing that's being installed in some of these trenches as well. But a lot of work on the west side now to get these footings completed. Take a look at the workers and the size of that footing square and the rebar cage just to get a good idea of the scale of this particular structure. Now, as we continue to fly back towards the testing and calibration lot, I noticed something very interesting, so I'm going to kind of follow this new item. It's a Cybertruck on the left, and I'm kind of abandoning for right now looking at the testing and calibration lot. Instead, let's follow this Cybertruck around and see how it progresses. Now, of course, the video is sped up a little bit right now, but we'll see the Cybertruck drive through this entire area back and forth. I think they're testing out how it handles. And by the looks of it, it has been driven quite a bit into the mud, as you can tell. And I'm going to take this opportunity here to zoom in, and then we're going to continue to follow this Cybertruck as it goes underneath the end-of-line tent here. And it does this turnaround, and we're going to follow it around the traffic circle and then all the way down to the south end. But I figured that this would be a good thing to try to capture on video and get a good long drive of a Cybertruck. So let's follow it along for a little longer. As we started getting to the south, I was starting to get concerned about my battery life, but I saw another Cybertruck, as you can tell, and they kind of meet here. The one we were following will go off onto the west side, and then the other one, I think we're going to follow it back to the north on the bottom of the screen, but you can see both of them right now. The one on the top kind of did some driving through and some testing on the dirt area, and then later on I actually saw it on the highway. The one on the bottom is actually looks like it may be a newly built one because it's much cleaner, and you can see the tags that are on the tires as it's driving. It's also driving at a slower rate than the other Cybertruck. Now there's some suggestions that I'm hearing that the brand new Cybertrucks are limited on factory mode as far as the speed that they can actually drive. And watching this Cybertruck go at this relatively slower pace, it gives a lot of credence to what I'm hearing on that. Now here I thought they were going to turn into the staging and testing calibration lot, but they decided to continue on over towards the traffic circle again. So let's follow it along until it reaches the Superchargers. Wondering how the four-wheel steering works, let's take a look as they get this positioned and move it back into the supercharger. Also, as far as getting it placed for connecting to the supercharger, it looked like it was pretty quick to me. I know some people have been worried about the length of the cable, but looks like they had no problems backing right in and connecting it to the supercharger and getting it charged. This also gives you an idea there were 4 employees in there and what it's like for them to get in and out of the Cybertruck. But overall, I think pretty cool to see two of them driving, and this one definitely looks much newer, or at least more clean than the one that we saw originally. So I'm going to bring the drone back up, and we're going to go back to the south end, and we'll take a look at some of the footing excavation that's underway. This is a good view looking down at this southeast corner. The amount of the footings and how quickly they are installing them, doing the excavation, the rebar cages, and preparing for concrete has really picked up to another notch. And it is amazing to see just how fast this is going. And who knows, maybe by the end of next week, we will see most of these filled with concrete. And then I'm curious to see how far these are going to extend along this south side. Now, if you look into the excavation, you can see that some of them are slightly different shape. There's kind of a house-shaped one on the corners, and then square-shaped here. And then if you can see the CFA piers, those circular items down at the base of the rebar, excavations, and then the rebar cages nearby will be put on top. And then ultimately those will be filled with concrete. And that's what's going to support the columns for the structure. We also see that they're applying some of that white stain on those temporary or those new panels that replace the windows. And then here we can see how the excavation work is going, work to prepare each of the footing excavations with the workers, also the scale using the workers, and then preparation for the rebar cages. And again, on the left, you can see those kind of triangular shaped excavations. That goes along the entire corner, the angled corner of the building. We also see some pink markers on the ground, and that's indicating where more of the footings will be installed. So I would expect to see this entire section up to this road on the left being worked with footings for the next week. The work on the stamping 2 extensions outer wall continues. A lot of the scaffolding, as you can tell, they're applying that gray textured material on top of the wall panels, and then they will be painting them white. And also on the roof, we can see that a lot of the insulation has been installed, and some of the white roof membrane has been installed as well. So the real question is how is this going to connect to the new building that'll be constructed on the left-hand side of the screen? As I bring the drone down here, you can see more of the scaffolding. This is so that they can finish the work on those panels that replace the windows. And you can see on the angled corner what it looks like right now. They've already started putting some of that gray material on those yellow panels. The CFA pier drilling rigs have been moved over to the west side again. And then here we see deliveries of a lot more of these equipment and items wrapped in yellow wrapping. And I'm kind of thinking that that's related to assembly line materials rather than construction materials, but it'll be something that we will watch. As I go over the cyber pond, you can see the light posts in the median of River Road. Looks like some more excavation work is happening here. And also the concrete section here has been broken up, as you can tell, in the middle of the screen. On the left is where they're going to be doing some of the work for that Giga water loop and getting some help with the guy wire. And then now, as we've crossed over the highway, what I'm trying to show you is the area here where the ecological uplift program is underway or has been underway, and what we talked in the intro. As I mentioned, all of this is related to flood water management. You can see the Colorado River on the left. This entire area going up to the road has been transformed, and you can tell that the road is at much higher elevation now. Originally, it was lower than where the trees are now, which is why there was that flood risk. But with that elevation, using the road is almost kind of a barrier, and then continuing to raise the elevation of the grade on the entire north side of the river road is all part of that water management mitigation strategy that they started over 3 years ago. And again, as we talked about in the intro of the video. This section here continues to have the last of the hills and ponds removed. You can tell that the grade work is continuing to grow towards the drone on the left-hand side, and also they're working now in the middle of the screen to remove even more of the hills and ponds. So it looks like that eventually this is all going to be flattened out and used for some sort of construction. So another thing to keep watching. Now this is a great view of the West Support Facility, the material staging yard at the bottom and middle of the screen. You can see Giga-Texas, the warehouse and wheels on the right, the new end of line and outbound lots on the top of the screen. And here we can see the TKS paint system with these large items in white plastic. Those continue to be prepared for movement inside and adds additional painting capability for Giga-Texas. We can see the medians on the left for the new road are really starting to take shape. We've seen electrical conduit being put in that area too, so we may start seeing light poles soon in addition to the paving. This is a good also view of the warehouse on wheels on the east side. You can tell that this road is being constructed on this side, right in the middle bottom of the screen. Some geotextile membranes are being placed as well. I believe that this is going to be the route that the new vehicles take down to the south, under the South Bridge, and then up this way towards the new outbound lot and the end-of-line facility, as you can tell. I know people keep asking about a boring tunnel. I don't have any information about that happening. And right now it looks like the road is the way that they plan on moving the new vehicles. It's a good view of this end of the end-of-line structure. The wall panels on the east and west side have now reached the south end, so we may see the south end enclosed very soon. This is a good view of some of the trench work, some of the materials, and other items for construction here on the outbound lot. Some people have asked about the trailers on the left. It does look like there's been some damage to a few of them, and I'm not sure exactly why. Now here's a good thing to see that's new. You can see the HDPE pipe. It is now put on sort of mounts that have roller systems on it, and you can see that all the way along the length of the pipe. That's because they are actually starting to pull the pipe through underneath the road today, and I'll give you some more views of that a little bit later. We can also see electrical conduit being put into some trenches here on the west side of the end-of-line facility, and the north end and how it is starting to transform. And then here is a closer view of the items that have been attached to the end of the HDPE pipe. This is all in preparation for pulling underneath the road. So this is a really great sign, and they have the drill on the other side of the road getting ready for the pull as well. This is a lower altitude view of the north side of the end-of-line facility. You can see that there's a covered awning now over where that door is, which is nice to see. That'll be great for when it's raining. So here's how it looks on this side of the highway, and then on the other side of the highway, looking back where we came from. I'll bring the drone down and show you in this area with the blue fencing. You can see the horizontal drill is connected to that pipe going through the bore, and it's being prepared to pull that HDPE pipe through that bore under the highway to this particular location. So it would not surprise me if by the time I do my next video, we'll see that HDPE pipe has been pulled all the way underneath. Now I did notice something interesting here next to the end-of-line facility on the left. We also see a long line of new Model Ys coming in. Now what's interesting is some of them actually drive back up the ramp inside. So I don't know if they were doing some sort of testing of these new Model Ys or what exactly was going on. But a lot of activity here in the end-of-line facility, at least the temporary one that is allowing for the construction of the Model Ys right now for Giga-Texas. So as we fly up over the main entrance, and I'll reposition the drone here, give you a higher altitude view of the south end. That's a pretty good look at all of the activity, plus a bonus following the Cybertrucks around the site today. So I hope that you enjoyed what you saw and what we talked about in the video. And as always, thank you for your support. I hope you have a great weekend. Take care.